Let's take a quick peek at, I think I was in the village of Alden, a wonderful village, historic village, which is just not doing well. And I made the presentation, and here's a trustee responding. Yes, sir.
First of all, thank you for coming tonight. I promised my wife I would behave. I quite frankly don't agree with all of your statistics. I did have the privilege of serving on a committee several years ago at the University of Buffalo. A study conducted by John Shepard, who you probably know very well. We seem to see very little of that study anymore. And the basic conclusion of the study was that local government performs the best services for the local people. That's number one. Number two, our community has grown in size. Our community has grown in population. Our community has grown in value in the last 30 years. That's number two. Number three, I make you a suggestion about bringing all my other notes that I made. The county government, when it was a board of supervisors, was very open to rural communities. The county legislature is now consistent, is not open too much to rural communities because it represents the population instead of physical area. The county government is also an extension, quite frankly, of the state government. And I really think if we want to do something proper, see the county government can't seem to function very well, maybe we should look at abolishing county government.
I have to tell you, both that night and right now, I don't know what the hell he said. Nice people, they're just wonderful people. But you can hear them trapped in this system that results in sort of a little bit of gibberish. But if you listen closely, what he was saying is, it's not us, it's the county. It's not this town, it's someone else. Well, by the way, since that night, I'm working closely. Is Tom Loughran here from the county legislature? Is Tom here? Tom, could you stand up? Tom has taken the initiative of introducing a resolution to reduce the county legislature from 15 to 9. And as a result, is going to be one of the great leaders in the next century. He needs your help, though. He needs your support. Do you know that the average county legislature size in America, no matter what the population, in San Diego County, 2.1 million people, in St. Louis County, 1.6 million people, throughout Florida, a couple of million people in counties. You know how many county legislators they have? How many, Tommy? 5. 5. That's the trend in America today. Because it's nimble, it's able to make decisions quicker, it's able to respond to changing economies. Although I must say this, at least that nice man, he was a very nice man. And by the way, they're noble servants and they do good work. We're just trying to get them to come into the new century. He was kind enough to communicate with me. There were some stops along the way where I have to confess the welcome was a little bit less warm. One night I was in the town of Cheektowaga, and there was a wonderful filmmaker there, and he filmed what took place. Take a look.
I'm sorry, gentlemen. I know I'm being disrespectful to this honorable body. I know that. A guy like me should never be allowed to get in here in the first place. I know that. And I hate to stand here and try your patience like this, but either I'm dead right or I'm crazy.
You wouldn't care to put that to a vote, would you, Senator?
Everyone who thinks I'm crazy, raise your hand. My students, will you please put your hands down? Everyone who thinks I'm right, raise your hand. We're darn right. All I'm saying is what's on your mind. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. It's not me, you know, I just have a little more time and a little bit crazier to do this work, but I'm doing it on your behalf, and I'm just expressing what we all feel. Because we're at that point now. We're at a tipping point based on the work that we've done a little bit. By the way, may I interrupt for 1 second? The governor of the state of New York today was kind enough to write me a letter, which I know a lot of journalists have here today, acknowledging this work. I've been speaking with him and asking him to help me by providing incentives now for us to get serious. And here's what I told him. I want to make Erie County the leader in the state of New York of government downsizing. Think of all the benefits would come to us if we had that identity. And I'm working hard. He's a Paul, Dave Patterson. He's a good guy. He's a Paul, but he's smart enough to know that if he wants to stay governor, he's got to do something about reducing property taxes, and he can't do that without affecting local government. So I'm going to work with him, and let's see if we can't do this and create some type of identity for us other than winters and the like. Back to lessons, real quick. What I learned is, as over these past 30 years, as we lost population and lost financial resources and lost so much, politicians had a difficult time sustaining and rationalizing themselves. So what they've done is, by the way, it was the hallmark of in urban government, but now it's out throughout all the suburbs. What they do is they've gotten into activities and functions that in other communities, say politicians, the department heads do. And the department heads here do work that the staff should be doing. And the staff does work that in other communities that are growing and functional and dynamic, they do the work that we citizens do. Citizens do it there. And you know, the whole march of democracy, especially on a local level, is a march toward increasingly empowering citizens. And that's another reason why we have to really seriously consider eliminating some of these functions and duties and these levels, so that we can do, you know, when you go to these meetings and you see them vote on whether to you know, permit someone to have a bonfire, or permit someone to have a prom, or have a garden walk, and indeed oversee it, it's just a little bit too much. And that practice, I have to say, it's most pronounced in villages. Let's talk about villages for 1 second. Villages in Erie County account for 9% of our population, but 25% of our politicians. A little, again, out of proportion. Now, the cost to pay, of the $32 million we pay each year, $5.6 million goes to village politicians. By the way, and sales tax revenue. Sales tax has become now the greatest source of revenue for local governments. It exceeds property taxes. Every year, our villages get $7 million, just enough to pay the politicians. And village budgets, my students and I, we looked at them. In the fiscal year 2006, the average village budget increase here in Erie County was 7.8, and in the aggregate, the 16 villages rose 61%. 61% every year, year after year. Let's take just one example, the village of Angola, out near where I was raised in Hamburg. They've got 2,000 folks. They have 6 elected officials. Their ratio of resident to politician is 438 to 1. If Buffalo had the same, there'd be 638 common council members. And let's see what they do, how they do. Here's the main street, which, by the way, when it was a rail stop, it was a beautiful main street. It almost looks like a bombed out Dresden. It's the boarded up houses. This is on the main street, boarded up shops. One night that I was there, they were complaining, the village board, of why there's no businesses there anymore. The local paper just recently closed. The building went up for sale. There's the most historic building in the village, and they just can't do anything about it. It's literally falling down. But then some people say, no, wait a minute, Kev. You need village government to create the loveliness of an Orchard Park, or maybe the sense of place of Williamsville. To which I say, stop and think about it for a moment. We also have in this community locales that have the same identity, the same services, the same wonderful sense of place, like Snyder. But it's not an incorporated village. It gives you the same quality of life, but it doesn't add to the tax burden. So the whole argument of, no, we will lose our identity. You can't do this. It's not true. It's belied by the facts.